My SIL told me that my wedding dress is the worst gown she ever seen, but my brother's speech revealed her plans to ruin my wedding. My sister-in-law Katie made the comment 3 weeks before my wedding while we were doing final dress fittings at the bridal shop. I'd just stepped out of the dressing room in my dream dress, feeling beautiful for the first time in months of wedding stress. Katie looked me up and down with this weird smirk and said, "Well, Emma, that's definitely the worst wedding gown I've ever seen. You look like you're wearing a bedsheet with some lace thrown on it." The other bridesmaids went silent. My maid of honor, Sarah, tried to defend me, but Katie just shrugged and said she was being honest because someone had to tell me the truth. I felt crushed, but what made it worse was how pleased Katie looked about my reaction, like she'd accomplished exactly what she wanted. Over the next few weeks, Katie kept inserting herself into every wedding detail. She'd show up at vendor meetings uninvited, always with suggestions that contradicted what I'd already planned. She convinced my florist to order different colored roses, saying the ones I'd picked would clash terribly with the bridesmaids' dresses. She told my caterer that I'd changed my mind about the menu and wanted cheaper options instead. When I confronted her, she acted confused and said she was just trying to help since wedding planning was so stressful for me. The strange behavior escalated as the wedding got closer. Katie started calling vendors directly, claiming to be me and making changes I never approved. She canceled my string quartet and booked a DJ instead. She changed the cake flavor from vanilla to red velvet, knowing I'm allergic to food coloring. Every time I discovered another change, she'd act shocked and blame miscommunication. She'd say the vendors must have misunderstood, or maybe I was just stressed and forgetting things. My fiancé Mark thought I was being paranoid, said Katie was just enthusiastic about helping. But Sarah started noticing things too. Katie would disappear during wedding events to make mysterious phone calls. She was constantly taking pictures of everything: our venue setup, the rehearsal dinner decorations, even private family moments. When Sarah asked why, Katie said she was making a scrapbook as a surprise. 2 days before the wedding, I found Katie in my bridal suite going through my personal belongings. She was photographing my wedding day timeline and vendor contact list. When I asked what she was doing, she laughed and said she was just curious about how everything was organized. The rehearsal dinner felt off from the start. Katie kept making toasts about how marriage was such a huge risk and how she hoped Mark and I would beat the odds. She kept mentioning this photographer friend of hers named Jessica, who did amazing wedding photography. I'd never heard of Jessica before, and we already had a photographer booked. Katie insisted I should meet Jessica anyway, just in case. She even gave me Jessica's business card, which felt pushy and inappropriate. The morning of my wedding, Katie showed up at my hotel room at 6 a.m. with coffee and pastries. She seemed nervous and kept checking her phone constantly. She kept asking about our timeline, when exactly the ceremony would start, how long photos would take afterward. She also brought up Jessica again, saying she was in the area and available if our photographer had any emergencies. The wedding ceremony went perfectly despite my anxiety about Katie's weird behavior. But during the reception, my brother Danny stood up to give his speech as my man of honor. He started talking about how much he loved me and wanted me to be happy. Then his voice got serious and he said he had something important to share with everyone. He pulled out his phone and said he'd discovered something that morning that he couldn't keep secret. Danny explained that Katie had been planning to sabotage my wedding for months, that she'd hired a photographer named Jessica to crash our ceremony and claim she was the real photographer. Katie's plan was to ruin all our professional photos and video by having Jessica cause chaos during the most important moments. The plan included Jessica showing up right during our vows, claiming there had been a booking mix-up and demanding to take over. Katie had even paid Jessica extra to accidentally spill something on my dress during the photo session afterward. Danny held up his phone showing text messages between Katie and Jessica, planning every detail of how to destroy my wedding day without getting caught. And that's when I realized Katie's dress comment was never about the dress at all. The reception hall falls into stunned silence. 200 pairs of eyes dart between Danny, still holding up his phone with the damning evidence, and Katie, whose face has drained of all color. My hands are trembling as I reach for Mark's arm to steady myself. All this time, I wasn't being paranoid. My suspicions were real. "What the hell is going on?" Mark whispers, his eyes wide with disbelief. Before I can answer, Katie lunges toward Danny. "Give me my phone!" she shrieks, but Danny steps back, keeping the evidence safely out of her reach. "I didn't steal your phone, Katie," Danny says, his voice carrying across the silent reception hall. "You left it on the charger in our hotel room this morning while you were in the shower. It kept buzzing with messages from someone named Jessica about final arrangements and payment confirmation. As your husband, I thought it might be important." The projector screen behind Danny now displays screenshots of Katie's text conversations. I can see my name mentioned repeatedly alongside words like ruin, chaos, and perfect timing. My stomach twists into knots. Mark squeezes my hand and whispers, "I'm so sorry I didn't believe you." From the corner of my eye, I notice movement near the entrance. A woman with professional camera equipment is frantically texting while backing toward the exit. Sarah notices her too and points. That's her. That's Jessica. The woman bolts, but Mark's best friend Chris reacts instantly, sprinting across the reception hall. He tackles Jessica just as she reaches the doors, sending her camera bag crashing to the floor. Equipment scatters across the marble. You stole everything from me. Katie screams suddenly, pointing at me with such venom that I physically recoil. Everything. You always have to be the center of attention. Danny was my brother first. The absurdity of her statement hangs in the air. Danny looks completely bewildered. Katie, what are you talking about? Emma is my sister. You're my wife. And that's the problem. Katie's mascara runs down her cheeks as she continues her tirade. Ever since we got married, it's been Emma this and Emma that. You were so excited to be her man of honor. You spent more time helping with her wedding than you ever did with mine. My mother steps forward from her table, her face set in stone. This isn't the first time, is it, Katie? She asks coldly. You tried to ruin my niece Melissa's wedding last year too, didn't you? The mysterious missing dress? The vendor cancellations? Katie's eyes dart wildly around the room, looking for an escape route. And before that, my mother continues, there was your cousin's wedding where the cake mysteriously collapsed, and your college roommate's ceremony where the officiant got the wrong time. It's always been you, hasn't it? The room erupts into chaos as people begin connecting dots to other weddings where Katie was present and disasters followed. Mark pulls me close, shielding me from the commotion as security guards from the venue approach Katie. Jessica is being restrained near the entrance by Chris and another groomsman. She paid me $5,000, Jessica shouts over the noise. Said it was just a prank between sisters. Danny steps down from the stage and approaches me, his face etched with guilt. I'm so sorry, Em. I had no idea she was capable of this. He pulls up more screenshots on his phone. There's more. She's been planning this for months. Look at these messages to your florist, your caterer. She even has a fake email account where she pretended to be you. I don't understand, I whisper, looking over at Katie, who's now sobbing as venue security keeps her contained. Why would she do this? Danny hesitates, then shows me one final text from Katie's phone, sent to Jessica just this morning. I can't stand watching him love her more than me. Danny's been obsessed with his perfect little sister our entire marriage. After today, she won't be so perfect anymore. Mark's parents have joined us now, his father's face flushed with anger. We're pressing charges, he says firmly. This is harassment, fraud, and God knows what else. The wedding coordinator appears at my side, looking shell-shocked. I've never seen anything like this in 15 years of planning weddings, she whispers. What do you want to do, Emma? I look around at our guests, some horrified, others whispering furiously. A few already recording the scene on their phones. This isn't how I imagined my wedding day. But strangely, I feel a weight lifting from my shoulders. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. Katie's gaslighting had nearly convinced me I was losing my mind. No, I say firmly, squeezing Mark's hand. This is still our wedding. Katie doesn't get to take that away from us. I turn to the DJ, who's watching the scene with his mouth hanging open. Play something, anything. As the music starts, Mark pulls me close. I should have trusted you, he whispers against my hair. I'm so sorry. You believe me now, I reply, resting my head against his chest as security escorts a still sobbing Katie toward the exit. Jessica follows, escorted by venue staff who are already calling the police. Sarah approaches with 2 glasses of champagne. I think you both need this, she says, her eyes still wide with shock. And just so you know, I've already deleted Katie from all the professional photos we took earlier. Danny stands nearby, looking lost. I had no idea, he keeps saying. All this time, she was jealous of my relationship with you. My own sister. I take the champagne from Sarah and raise my glass to Mark. To marriage, I say with a shaky smile. And to finding out who your real enemies are before it's too late. As Mark leans in to kiss me, I catch a glimpse of my mother gathering Katie's belongings from the bridal party table. Her expression is grim but determined. This isn't over, I realize. This is just the beginning of whatever twisted story Katie has been writing for us all. But for tonight, at least, her plans have failed. My dress is still pristine, Mark is by my side, and we have the truth however ugly it might be. The reception continues in a bizarre state of suspended animation. Most guests have returned to their tables, but the atmosphere feels like a theater during intermission, everyone waiting for the next act of drama to unfold. Security guards stand outside the bridal suite where Katie is being contained, while Mark's parents speak with the venue manager about involving the police. Are you okay? Mark asks, his hand warm against the small of my back. His eyes haven't left my face since Danny's revelation. I don't know, I answer honestly. I keep thinking about all those little mishaps leading up to today. They weren't accidents at all. Sarah approaches, her face flushed with anger. Emma, you need to see this. She holds up her phone, scrolling through what appears to be a cloud photo account. I used Katie's email to reset her password. Don't look at me like that. It's an emergency and found these. My stomach drops as I stare at dozens of our wedding photos, professionally edited to make me look terrible. My skin tone altered to sickly green, My eyes edited to appear crossed. My teeth yellowed. She was going to swap these with the real photos before we got them, Sarah explains, her voice shaking. There's a whole folder labeled replacements. Danny joins us, looking shell-shocked. There's more, he says quietly. Katie has a private Instagram account. The username is Perfect Sister Fail. It's dedicated to documenting ways she's sabotaged you. He hands me his phone, and I scroll through post after post of Katie's meticulous planning, screenshots of emails to vendors where she posed as me, changing orders, photos of her practicing forging my signature, a video of her calling the string quartet to cancel, using a voice eerily similar to mine. She's been planning this for months, I whisper, feeling violated in ways I can't articulate. Look at the dates on these posts. Mark takes the phone, his jaw tightening as he scrolls. This goes back to our engagement party. She's been sabotaging us since the beginning. Emma, my mother's voice cuts through the reception hall. She's standing near the cake table, waving frantically. Come quick. We rush over to find the bottom tier of our wedding cake collapsing inward, a strange chemical smell emanating from it. I caught the catering assistant pouring something into the cake, my mother explains, pointing to a young man being detained by security. He claims Katie paid him $500 to do it. I just met her yesterday, the assistant protests, looking terrified. She said it was just a harmless prank between sisters. I swear I didn't know it would ruin anything. I stare at the dissolving cake in disbelief. What was in that bottle? Some kind of drain cleaner, my mother says grimly. Thank God I noticed before anyone ate it. Mark's face darkens with fury. That's attempted poisoning. Where are the police? As if on cue, 2 uniformed officers enter the reception hall, guided by Mark's father. They look bewildered by the scene, a half-destroyed wedding cake, guests huddled in whispers, security guards at various posts. Emma, Sarah says suddenly, pointing at my dress. What's that? I look down to see a small, yellowish stain spreading across the silk at my hip. It wasn't there moments ago. The fabric begins to discolor before my eyes, the stain growing larger. She must have applied something to your dress earlier, Danny says, examining the spot without touching it. Something designed to develop slowly during the reception. The realization hits me like a physical blow. Katie had access to my dress this morning when she showed up at my hotel room at 6 a.m. While I was in the shower, she must have treated the fabric with something that would activate hours later. I need to change, I say, feeling suddenly exposed and vulnerable. Sarah immediately springs into action. I brought a backup dress just in case. It's not white, but it's better than walking around in something Katie tampered with. As Sarah leads me toward the bridal suite, we're intercepted by a tall man with a devastated expression, Katie's husband, Tom. I'd almost forgotten about him in the chaos. Emma, I'm so sorry, he says, his voice cracking. I had no idea she was doing any of this. She told me she was helping with your wedding, that you two had gotten closer. He trails off, clearly realizing how ridiculous it sounds now. How could you not know? Mark demands, stepping protectively beside me. Tom runs a hand through his hair. She's been secretive for months, leaving at odd hours, hiding her phone. I thought. He swallows hard. I thought she was having an affair. This is somehow worse. She's been spending thousands, Danny adds, still scrolling through Katie's accounts. Credit card statements show payments to Jessica, the caterers, even the hotel staff, over $5,000 just to the photographer alone. Tom pales. We don't have that kind of money. Our savings is gone, she told me. We had a plumbing emergency at the house while I was on my business trip last month. A commotion near the entrance draws our attention. Jessica is being escorted back inside by police, her hands cuffed behind her back. She looks defiant until she spots me. Then her expression crumbles. I'm sorry, she calls out. She said you stole her life, that you were the evil sister-in-law who ruined her marriage. She showed me pictures of you laughing while she cried. That never happened, I say, stunned by the fabrication. She paid me $5,000 to help teach you a lesson. Jessica continues as the officers try to quiet her. Said it would be funny, that her brother would thank her later for showing him your true colors. Tom approaches Jessica, his voice tight with controlled anger. Did my wife mention she's done this before? That she was a bridesmaid for 3 other weddings that mysteriously fell apart? Jessica's eyes widen. What? No, she said this was just between sisters. She was kicked out of her college roommate's wedding party after the bride's dress disappeared. Tom continues, loud enough for everyone to hear. Her cousin uninvited her after vendors started canceling without explanation. Her best friend from high school stopped speaking to her after her wedding cake collapsed during the reception. The pattern is unmistakable now. Each incident matches what my mother had accused Katie of earlier. Sarah returns with a pale blue dress draped over her arm. Come on, Emma. Let's get you changed before that stain gets worse. As we approach the bridal suite, we can hear Katie sobbing inside. A security guard nods respectfully and steps aside to let us in. Katie looks up as we enter, her makeup completely ruined, her eyes red and swollen. For a moment, I feel a flicker of pity until I see the satisfied gleam in her eyes when she notices the spreading stain on my dress. You did this, I say quietly. It's not a question. Katie's expression shifts instantly to innocent confusion. Did what? I've been locked in here while you turn my husband and my brother against me. The practiced manipulation in her voice makes my skin crawl. How many times had I second-guessed myself because of her gaslighting? The police are here, Katie, Sarah says coldly. They're questioning Jessica right now. She's already confessed. Katie's facade cracks slightly. She wasn't supposed to confess. She was supposed to leave. The admission hangs in the air between us as I realize just how meticulously Katie had planned my wedding day destruction and how close she came to succeeding. I take a deep breath and step into the bridal suite, closing the door behind me. Katie sits on the chaise lounge, her makeup smeared across her face, looking both defiant and broken at the same time. The security guard positioned outside had given me a concerned look, but I insisted on speaking to her alone. Why? I ask simply, standing just inside the doorway. I need to understand why you've been doing this. Katie's eyes flicker to my dress, to the spreading stain that's now the size of my palm. A hint of satisfaction crosses her face before she composes herself. You wouldn't understand, she says, her voice hoarse from crying. You've always had everything handed to you. What are you talking about? What have I ever taken from you? Katie laughs, a hollow sound that makes the hair on my arm stand up. Danny worships the ground you walk on. Do you have any idea what that's like? To know your husband thinks his sister is perfect? To hear him talk about how amazing you are while I'm sitting right there? I shake my head in disbelief. That's what siblings do, Katie. They love each other. Not like this. Katie's voice hardens. When we got married, I thought I'd finally have someone who put me first. But even on our wedding day, he spent half the time worrying if you were having fun, if you liked the food, if you approved of his vows. That's not... My parents always compared me to my sister. She interrupts, her voice suddenly small. Melissa was the smart one, the pretty one, the successful one. I was just... there. When I met Danny, I thought I'd finally escaped that, but then I realized I'd just traded one perfect sister for another. For a moment, I feel a flicker of sympathy. Then I remember the cake that could have poisoned our guests, the dress she deliberately ruined, the months of gaslighting. So you decided to destroy my wedding, to poison people? Katie's expression shifts, becoming calculating. I didn't poison anyone. That catering assistant misunderstood. I just wanted to make the cake taste bad, not hurt anyone. The practiced innocence in her voice makes my skin crawl. I've heard this tone before whenever I confronted her about changed vendors or missing invitations. The police are questioning Jessica right now, I say, watching her reaction carefully. She's telling them everything, Katie. About the $5,000 you paid her, about your plans to ruin my dress, about the fake story you told her that I somehow stole your life. Katie's composure cracks. She wasn't supposed to talk. She promised. The door opens behind me, and Danny steps in, his face grim. Can I have a minute with my wife? I nod and start to leave, but Danny stops me. Actually, I think you should hear this too. He holds up his phone. I've been going through Katie's emails. She's been seeing a therapist for the past year for what her doctor called pathological jealousy and competitive behavior. She stopped going 6 months ago, right around when our engagement was announced. Katie's face drains of color. You had no right to look through my private emails. You had no right to try to destroy my sister's wedding. Danny counters, his voice shaking with controlled anger. The therapist's notes mention your fixation on your sister-in-law and your inability to separate normal familial affection from perceived romantic attachment. I feel suddenly cold. You thought Danny and I... Don't be disgusting, Katie snaps. I know you're not actually sleeping together, but he loves you more than he loves me. He always has. Mark appears in the doorway, his expression hardening when he sees Katie. Emma, the police want to know if you're pressing charges. Before I can answer, Tom pushes past Mark into the room, holding up his phone. I just got off the phone with our credit card company. You opened a secret card in my name 3 months ago. You've spent over $12,000 on this vendetta. Katie's eyes dart between the three of us, looking for an ally and finding none. It wasn't just the wedding, Danny says quietly, still scrolling through Katie's emails. Emma, she's been sabotaging your career too. There's an email here where she posed as you to decline that promotion at work last year, and another one canceling your interview at Marshall & Stevens. I feel like I've been punched in the stomach. That was you. I thought they just went with another candidate. Katie's face twists with resentment. You already had everything else. Why should you get that job too? I was qualified for that position, but they wouldn't even interview me once they found out I was related to the amazing Emma. The door opens again, and Sarah steps in, holding a leather-bound journal. Found this in Katie's purse? She says, her voice tight with anger. It's basically a playbook for ruining Emma's life. There are pages dedicated to each sabotage attempt, with notes about what worked and what didn't. She flips to a page and reads, Day 47 of Operation Perfect Sister. Convinced the florist Emma wants yellow roses instead of white. Yellow makes her complexion look sallow. Note for next time. Bring written confirmation to avoid questions. You kept a diary? Danny asks, looking at Katie with disbelief. It's not a diary, Katie mutters. It's a project management journal. The absurdity of her statement hangs in the air for a moment before Sarah continues reading. Day 89. Told the caterer Emma changed her mind about the appetizers. Ordered the shrimp she's mildly allergic to. Small victory. My parents appear in the increasingly crowded doorway, my mother's face set in a hard line I've rarely seen. We need to talk about this as a family, my father says firmly. Katie's behavior has been concerning for a long time. We should have said something sooner. Concerning? I repeat, turning to look at them. You knew? My mother sighs. The way she would insert herself into family gatherings, how she'd try to one-up you, how she'd tell stories that painted you in a negative light. We thought it was just normal sister-in-law tension. It wasn't, Danny says flatly, and I should have seen it too. A crash from outside the room draws everyone's attention. We rush out to find the wedding cake table overturned, the remaining tiers of our cake smashed across the floor. Katie stands over the destruction, a serving knife in her hand, her eyes wild. If I can't have a perfect wedding, neither can you, she screams, guests backing away in horror. Security guards rush forward, carefully restraining Katie as she struggles and shouts. She took everything from me. Everything. Danny was mine first. As they lead her away, Tom follows, his face a mask of shock and grief. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow, he says to no one in particular. I can't. Mark puts his arm around me, pulling me close as we survey the destroyed cake and the shocked faces of our guests. I'm so sorry, Emma. This isn't how our wedding day was supposed to be. I lean into his embrace, feeling strangely calm despite the chaos. At least now we know the truth. No more gaslighting, no more wondering if I'm crazy for suspecting her. Sarah approaches with the blue dress draped over her arm. Let's get you changed. This day isn't over yet. As I follow her back to change out of my stained wedding gown, I glance back at the reception hall. Guests are already helping to clean up the cake disaster. The DJ has started playing music again, and Mark is directing the catering staff to bring out dessert alternatives. This isn't the wedding I planned, but in a strange way, it's freeing. Katie's web of manipulation has finally unraveled, exposing the truth not just to me, but to everyone who matters. As I slip off my ruined dress, I feel like I'm shedding more than just fabric. I'm leaving behind months of self-doubt and gaslighting. Whatever happens next, at least it will be honest. 3 months after the wedding disaster, Mark and I stand alone on a small cliff overlooking the ocean. The setting sun paints the water gold as we exchange private vows. Just the two of us this time. No audience, no drama, no sabotage, just love in its purest form. I promise to always believe you, Mark whispers, squeezing my hands, even when the truth seems impossible. I smile, thinking about how far we've come since that chaotic reception, and I promise to trust that we can handle whatever comes next together. Our original wedding might have imploded spectacularly, but this quiet renewal feels more meaningful. We've been tested in ways most couples never experience, and somehow emerged stronger. Back at our hotel room, I find a text from Danny. Sarah says hi. I smile at the unexpected silver lining that emerged from the wedding chaos. Danny and Sarah bonded during the aftermath, first as allies helping us navigate the legal and emotional fallout, then as something more. They've been dating for almost 2 months now, and seeing my brother happy with someone who genuinely supports him has been healing for everyone. Well, almost everyone. The envelope arrived yesterday from Mountain View Wellness Center. I recognize Katie's handwriting immediately, though it's shakier than I remember. I've been carrying it around, not quite ready to open it until now. Dear Emma, my therapist says I should write this letter without expecting forgiveness. That's the hardest part, accepting that I've done things you might never be able to forgive. I've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder with narcissistic features. That's not an excuse, just context. I've spent 3 months in intensive therapy unpacking why I became so fixated on destroying your happiness. The truth is, I've been jealous of you since the moment I met you. You had Danny's unconditional love, something I never experienced in my own family. I convinced myself he loved you more than me, and that twisted perception became my reality. I'm sorry for saying your wedding dress was the worst gown I'd ever seen. It was beautiful, and you looked radiant in it. I'm sorry for sabotaging your vendors, your cake, your quartet. I'm sorry for hiring Jessica to ruin your special day. Most of all, I'm sorry for making you doubt your own sanity when you suspected something was wrong. I don't expect a response. I just wanted you to know I'm doing the work to understand why I became someone capable of such cruelty. Katie. Mark finds me on the balcony, staring at the letter. From Katie? He asks, sitting beside me. Yes. She sounds different, more self-aware. Do you believe her? I fold the letter carefully. I think I do. Her therapist confirms she's making genuine progress. Danny says she's completely different in their video calls, quieter, more thoughtful. Are you going to respond? Not yet, maybe someday. I rest my head on his shoulder. I'm not ready to let her back into our lives. But I don't wish her ill either. The wedding vendors were remarkably understanding once the full story came out. Most refunded our deposits, and a few even offered complimentary services for future events. The catering company sent a generous gift card with a note saying they'd never experienced anything like our reception in 30 years of business. Tom called today, Mark says, referring to Katie's husband. The divorce is moving forward. He wanted to thank you for helping him find a good attorney. I nod, remembering how lost Tom looked in those first weeks after everything fell apart. Despite having every reason to hate him by association, I couldn't help but see he was as much a victim of Katie's manipulation as anyone. When he asked for help navigating the legal system, I connected him with my colleague who specializes in divorce. Did he mention how he's doing? I ask. Better. He's in therapy too. Said to tell you he's sorry he didn't see the warning signs sooner. None of us did. Not really. I think about all the moments I questioned myself, wondering if I was being paranoid or overly sensitive. We all saw what we wanted to see. Sarah texts a photo of her and Danny at dinner, both smiling broadly. He just told me about the time you two got stuck in an elevator for 3 hours as kids. How have I never heard this story? I laugh, showing Mark the message. Some stories are just waiting for the right audience. We've heard Jessica's photography business shut down after the scandal. Several former clients came forward with similar stories of sabotage for hire, though none as elaborate as what Katie orchestrated. Last I heard, she was facing charges for fraud and working at a big box store while awaiting trial. Do you think Katie will ever fully understand what she did? Mark asks, his arm around my shoulders. I think she's starting to. Her therapist says true narcissists don't usually seek treatment willingly, but Katie's been fully engaged in her recovery. That counts for something. I've established firm boundaries, no direct contact, all communication through Danny or her treatment facility. It's not forgiveness exactly, but it's not active hatred either. It's the space I need to heal from months of gaslighting and manipulation. Our 1-year anniversary is still months away, but we've already decided to celebrate quietly, just us, Danny, Sarah, and our parents at our favorite restaurant. No elaborate plans, no opportunities for sabotage, no pressure to create a perfect day. The sun disappears below the horizon, leaving the sky painted in purples and deep blues. Mark kisses my temple gently. What are you thinking about? He asks. How strange life is. A year ago, I was planning what I thought would be the perfect wedding, completely unaware of what was happening behind the scenes. Now here we are, after the worst wedding disaster imaginable. And I've never been happier. Because now there are no more secrets between us, Mark says. No more gaslighting, no more doubting yourself. I nod, watching the first stars appear. The truth really does set you free. As we head inside, I leave Katie's letter on the balcony table. I'll keep it as a reminder of how far we've all come, but I won't let it follow me into the future we're building. Some chapters need to close before new ones can begin. And this new chapter?